It's time to talk about keto. This video is for guys who think they need to go on the keto diet to get in shape. I used to be just like you. I used to think I had to cut out all my carbs, stick to just proteins and fats. And over the past decade and a half, I have uncovered the truth about keto, and that's what we're gonna talk about today. First of all, what is the keto diet? Well, the keto diet is a way of structuring nutrition to where you're really just eating primarily fats with a moderate amount of protein. So usually you're eating around 60 to 70% of your calories from fats and about 25% of your calories from protein. And then the rest is just trace amounts of carbohydrates, usually keeping your carbs under 30 to 50 grams a day at most. So a lot of people who use the keto diet experience a significant amount of fast weight loss. Fast weight loss primarily from losing water weight. When you eliminate all the carbs in your diet, your body eliminates a lot of water that it holds because of those carbs. And so you see a fast drop on the scale, which of course leads to that quick, fast success, and it gets people fired up to think, oh, I finally found the diet that works. I'm seeing weight loss for the first time. And guys get excited. They think, man, this is it. This is the secret to getting shredded and ripped. But there's a lot more to the story. Now, before you guys think this is just me bashing keto for the next 10 minutes here or so, it's not that at all. I know a lot of people get success from the keto diet and oftentimes can transition from keto back to a more moderate carb intake if done appropriately. But I will say the majority of guys that I speak to and I've helped over the years, including myself, I've tried keto numerous times, I just found it to be unsustainable for a number of reasons. Number one is you have to be really, really cautious with making sure you're not taking in really any direct sources of carbs. You also have to be careful with eating too much protein because that can throw you out of ketosis as well. It just starts to become an unnecessary restriction that takes away the enjoyment that is food. Food is not there to just be eaten for fuel. It's there to be enjoyed and to create memories and to actually have a good experience and a good relationship with food. The other thing with keto that I noticed, and a lot of guys I've helped notice as well, is that in the gym, your energy levels may not be up to par. You might start to feel even dizzy or lethargic or just not as strong and almost flat, right? Like you don't have anything in your body to utilize to actually train. Now, I know the experts out there will tell you, well, that's just your body transitioning from using carbs as fuel to using fats as fuel. And look, I get it. There might be an argument around that, but a lot of guys I know who have stuck with it multiple weeks or even months of doing keto still feel awful and just have to go back to carbohydrates. And the issue there is when you switch back to eating a moderate amount of carbs, you do see most of the time a significant amount of weight gain. This is not because you gained a bunch of fat or you lost all your progress that you had on keto, but you've gained all the water weight back that you lost going keto. And that's why I warn guys who jump into the keto diet, you're gonna see a drop in the scale pretty quick and you're gonna go, oh my gosh, this is like a saving grace. But it's just water weight, it's not body fat. There is no significant difference in how fast you lose fat if you're in the same caloric deficit on keto or on a moderate carb intake. So there's that psychological aspect too, where once you switch back to eating carbs, if you do, you see the weight come back up and it's discouraging for a lot of you. What do I suggest instead? And is there an opportunity to use keto-like strategies for guys, especially busy married businessmen who I help coach? I believe there is. So let's jump into what I suggest as an alternative to keto and how you can use keto inside of your sustainable lifestyle. So I actually do think there's a way to use keto, but this comes down to being strategic. And this isn't really full-blown keto, just so you know. So I don't want any of the keto warriors out there to freak out and say that's not really keto. But here's what some of our busy clients do. So on days where they might be traveling or eating out with their spouse or their kids, it can be hard to pick items on a restaurant menu or pick things from an airport or room service that fit a balanced diet, right? Because there's a lot of sneaky things that get into your food, like oils and additives, things that just add calories to the meals that you don't know about. So what I suggest for those guys is on those days, just stick to a more keto-based approach. Just control your calories and stick to proteins and fats for most of the day. This could be something like starting your day with just some eggs, right? Because a lot of hotels have hard-boiled eggs or scrambled eggs, or you can request just a few eggs from a restaurant if you're eating on the go. You could even just do a protein shake with some almond butter or peanut butter. Really simple stuff. For lunch, you could do something like a green salad with a bunch of chicken and steak or shrimp. And then at night, you could just order a steak and veggies and tell them to keep it really light on the oils, or do no oil at all, and just pan sear it or just grill it. Order a nice big steak with vegetables, and it's really filling. You can even do a side salad because it's really just fiber. It's not gonna really do a whole lot to throw you out of the ketosis day, but it's a good way to eliminate decision fatigue so that you're not sitting there going, man, what should I order? Should I order this carb or this pasta or this rice, or how many potatoes is that on my plate? You can just order a 8 to 10 or 12 ounce steak or whatever it is, and you know pretty accurately what the calories look like. All right, so let's talk about what you should do when it comes to your fat loss plan. If keto's not the answer, if it's not my number one recommendation, even though it might be useful in certain times and certain strategies, what do you want to do? Well, honestly, there's 3 things that you want to focus on. Let's talk about it. Number 1 is you want to focus on your total amount of calories that you're taking in. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. I've talked about this 100 different times, but the truth is that's where everything starts, and ultimately where you will either see results or not inside of your nutrition plan. You might follow a keto diet, but if your calories aren't dialed in and you're not eating the right amount of calories for your goals, whether it be fat loss, building muscle, or just maintaining your weight, well, then there's no diet that's gonna solve the calorie problem if you're not tracking your total calories. Keto, for a lot of people, is an easy way to lower calories because they're cutting out carbohydrates. If you are a carbaholic, then cutting out all carbs might lower your calories significantly enough to where you're now in a calorie deficit. You're now burning more calories than you take in. Hence why people at times lose fat on keto. So we gotta map out your calories, and keto diet helps people lower their calories by eliminating the opportunity to eat carbs. You're not allowed to eat carbs anymore. So if you're naturally a more carb heavy person, eliminating the carbs is gonna drop your calories down, at least for a period of time, before maybe your appetite catches up or you're not able to steer away from carbs and you bring them back in, and then the whole cycle starts itself over again. So one thing we can do to control calories, which leads me to point number 2, is we can up our protein intake. And I think every nutrition strategy that is focused on getting leaner, building muscle, should include a significant amount of protein. That's really the second thing you need to be doing inside of your nutrition plan when you're building something sustainable. I suggest about 30 to 35% of your total calories come from protein sources. And this does a lot of things, obviously. It helps you build muscle, maintain health, all that stuff, but it also controls your appetite. And it gives you slightly less freedom to splurge on tons of carbs or tons of fats, depending on your preference. With the remaining calories that you have, so the remaining 65% of your calories, you can divide those up amongst fats and carbs, depending on your preference, and really just enjoy the best of both worlds. You get to eat foods that include carbs and fats, which that's what we all want. As long as your calories are in line and you're getting enough protein, you're gonna be good to go. But let's talk about number 3, which honestly I think is the most important thing you should be doing with your nutrition plan. Number 3, you have to make sure when building out your nutrition plan, especially if you're considering something like the keto diet, whether or not it's sustainable. And also knowing you don't have to be so hard set on one route to get to where you want to go. If you were trying to climb Mount Everest and you ran into a huge block of ice that was blocking a path, does that mean the climb is over? Maybe not. It might mean you just need to take a detour and use specific tools or specific strategies to navigate to the top based off whatever's going on in your life. That's why I mentioned before that there might be a time to go low or no carb temporarily, just to make decisions a little bit easier and to not stress the small stuff and just focus on something that's really simple, like just eating protein and fats for a period of time. But when deciding on a nutrition path or strategy, the third thing and the most important thing is you have to figure out, is this sustainable? I can't tell you how many guys I talk to on a weekly basis. It's a lot. Usually it's at least once a day where someone says, I want something that I can just do for the rest of my life. I'm sick and tired of these temporary things that only get me back to square one. It feels like I'm in this insane asylum of nutrition because I try this crazy diet, I try keto, I try paleo, I try this or that, and it's not sustainable. And I come back to square one, gaining all the weight back. So the question I would suggest you ask yourself is this: when you wake up in the morning, can you
picture yourself eating this way for a very long time. And I don't mean like 3 months. I mean like 3 years, 6 years. Is this something you feel like you could do for the rest of time? If so, you're on the right track. You don't have to worry about the ketos or the paleos of the world. If the keto diet sounds interesting simply because people are dropping a ton of weight, that's probably not a good enough reason to do the keto diet. Now, if the idea of just eating protein and fats feels really sustainable to you and you're like, I could just eat steak, avocados, and eggs for the rest of my life, and that's all I care about, well then maybe it is for you. But if you're like, nah, I do like some carbs, I do like some fruits, I do like some pastas and some rice and potatoes and oatmeal and bread, then maybe it's not for you. And that's okay, because you can get to the same destination just as fast, probably faster, and exceed all your expectations by following a nutrition plan that's actually sustainable. So you gotta picture yourself as you move through this journey, whether or not you can sustain this way of eating. So a couple other things I'll share with you, because I know a lot of people talk about the appetite suppressing benefits of keto, right? Their appetite tends to go down because carbs at times can spike your appetite and cause you to want to eat more if you're doing things without any kind of wherewithal of what kind of carbs you're eating, sugars, and maybe you're not combining it with things like protein. There's a lot of details that go into it, but what I'll tell you is that there's other ways to get the same benefit. If you're worried about controlling your appetite, well, there's a couple things we can do that will work like gangbusters. Number one is you can do time-restricted eating, in other words, intermittent fasting. I noticed that the longer I go without food in the morning, the less my appetite is even a big deal. This might be the same thing for you. You can test this out. So when you wake up, instead of gorging on food right away and unleashing this crazy appetite, you could wait a while. You could just drink water and maybe some coffee, go a few hours without food and see if your appetite starts to decrease. It's also about how you start your day. If you might experiment with just starting your first meal with protein and fats, so you get that appetite suppressing feeling through the afternoon, and then you incorporate carbs at night. And remember, as long as you're controlling your calories, you're gonna be just fine. A lot of my busy, high performing businessmen clients who have families want to come home at night and eat a normal or somewhat normal healthy nutrition plan dinner with their family. They don't want to be a stick in the mud who's on keto and can't eat carbs or has to have some rabbit food or like super small portions. So skipping breakfast is a great tool. Eating a just protein base with a little bit of fat lunch, having a small protein snack in the afternoon, and then coming home and enjoying a decent amount of carbs and protein and fats for dinner. So you could do things like taco night, pizza night, burger night, grilling out night. Maybe if Indian food's your thing, you could do an Indian themed dish or Asian food or whatever. And you don't have to stress it, because as long as you're controlling your calories, you're just fine. Hey, so if you made it this far in the video, first of all, thanks so much for watching. I hope this gave you some insight into my thoughts around the keto diet and whether or not it's for you. And hey, if it's for you, go for it. I fully support you as long as it's sustainable and you're getting results and you're happy. Don't let me stop you. But if you're someone who's looking for something that might be more sustainable, more enjoyable, and not so restrictive, then I highly suggest you focus more on a balanced approach. And I can help you. So I have a free Dads with Abs diet plan. It's in the description of the video below. It's a completely free resource. Gives you a full week of nutrition strategies and meal plans to get you started on this path. And once you jump into that, if you find that it's helpful and you want to explore the other resources that we have, I have a link to my coaching program, which would be your next step in this process if you're interested in getting more help. I work with guys 30 and older, high-performing businessmen, family men, guys who put priority around family, finances, and just have not been focused on their fitness. If that's you, I can help you inside of our coaching program, so check that out. All right, so just to wrap things up here, I don't want to come across as a keto hater. I know it can be frustrating with all the diet camps out there. Picking the right one for you can seem like a monumental task. Don't sweat it. Just keep the rules that we covered in mind. You get those things dialed in, you're gonna be well on your way to getting all the results you want. Keep in mind too, the keto diet was not created out of a need for fat loss. It was actually a medical necessity. It was created for people who were suffering from epilepsy and seizures from epilepsy. And there was just numerous studies that showed that people who followed a keto diet had less seizures. And so the keto diet didn't originate from this whole, I want to burn fat type of deal. It just over time became this thing that people noticed, hey, it's got some appetite suppressant effects. It can maybe be a little bit easier for some people to follow initially who, maybe have an addiction to carbohydrates, or have poor insulin resistance. So it's there as a medical need for most of the epileptic population, but it's become this weight loss trend. And so I don't wanna be a hater. If it works for you, you do it, you go for it. But if you're a guy out there, like I said, someone who wants something more sustainable, wants to have some carbs in moderation, wants to eat some of the good stuff with the kids or at restaurants or out with your friends, and you just don't wanna feel like the person who can't enjoy life, then it might not be the best thing for you. So give the other stuff a shot and stick to the rules that I talked about and you will be covered. All right guys, I'm wrapping this up. Appreciate you watching my take on the keto diet. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, it would greatly benefit me getting this message out there to more people. YouTube obviously wants us to have more of an audience, so I appreciate you doing that. And then hit the like button if you enjoyed this one, and leave me a comment. Do you like the keto diet? Are you following the keto diet, or have you thought about following it? Was this video helpful? Let me know in the description, and hopefully this gave you a couple different perspectives on how you might go about choosing the best nutrition plan for you. I'll be back again soon. My name is Josiah Novak. I'm the owner of thetruetransformation.com. I'm author of the book Diets Suck on Amazon, and I'm here to help men 30 and older put their focus on fitness to match their success with family and finances. So I will talk to you on the next one.